So I want to start with a question of why collaborative leadership as a form of leadership is so important, by asking our students on this call, what helped you realize that developing your collaborative leadership was important to you? And I'll start with you, Noemi.
Thanks, Cecile. So I have, for the greater part of my career, been interested in democratic workplaces, democratic organizations, and have intellectually, logically considered them to be better for a variety of reasons, and have learned various techniques and this sort of thing, but they never really gelled into one overall approach. And so it was always a little bit catch as catch can, and led to a lot of confusion, which leads to a lot of frustration. And because I am in the position of leading an organization that works with groups that are democratic, with cooperatives, I thought it was important that we explore as fully as possible what that means by doing it ourselves within our organization. And so, getting introduced to CoLab and seeing immediate benefits in terms of the quality of our meetings and the quality of our follow-through on what we said we would do, accountability, really was immediately compelling. And sort of reading the background information of what the ideas are based on also helped put everything into a framework that I could grasp. Because usually you get a little good idea here, you get a little good idea there, and they don't fit together. And this, for me, was an overall idea that I could grasp. That said, the actual implementation, as Cecile noted, can be difficult. You can grasp the idea and still have a lot of trouble putting it into action. And this became really apparent to me. I did a bunch of employee reviews in the late spring last year. And I'd say well over half of the people I spoke to expressed a lot of difficulty with prioritization overload, not getting to everything. And I realized that this was a problem for my organization, and that I, as a leader, struggling with the exact same problems, I was setting a tone. And that's what leaders do, whether they like it or not. And I realized that if I wanted to help my staff get a handle on their workload and be able to do the things that needed to be done, feel good about doing them, feel good about not doing the things that fell outside their priorities, that I needed to learn how to do that myself. So that coincided with my starting the leadership program in the summer. And I'm not there yet. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a journey, but I've definitely made some progress. And the leadership program and the coaching has really helped with that. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noemi. Appreciate it. How about you, Janet? How would you talk about what helped you realize that developing your collaborative leadership was important to you?
Well, it started off as a somewhat desperate need. We have some condo associations that we did the development for. We set up the initial, developed the buildings and set up the initial condo association, turned it over to the homeowners, and we have had some pretty serious problems with power imbalances, frankly. So we needed to do something pretty desperately. So this was one way that we thought we could have training and learn how to talk to folks about integrative consent, though they will, aren't necessarily on board with that. when we first talk about it or even know the term. My colleague works with the co-op, so they have signed into this, but our condo associations haven't necessarily. So it was to kind of stem the bleeding, if you will. And that has been helpful in some of the conversations. But then I realized, to take it to my workplace, I work for Champlain Housing Trust. We are a democratic organization, so we start from a really, really solid place. But we do have more than we can do. So the scopes piece was very, very helpful. But the thing about that I guess I was most surprised about is how helpful the structure of the meeting was, because we had pretty good meetings, but just to make sure that nobody's voice was lost, and to make sure we are absolutely capturing what was decided. We were still doing too much of the, now what did we say there? So that piece has been really helpful. And there's this last little piece of accountability that we've been working on, taking it full, the 100% of the way. We were maybe 90%, but there were little things, but now people are like, oh, okay, no, we made a decision. We're doing a little bit more on using what system might be good for folks to use to track their tasks. And then, how can people see it so we can hold each other a little bit more accountable as well as ourselves. The scopes piece has kind of been a lifesaver because right now I have 2 new grants and I have more than I can do. So this is helpful not only to me, but to my team and my supervisor to say, okay, which ones can we actually do? Because we like to take on everything and then you miss pieces and that never feels good.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. Really appreciate that. And Rebecca, your experience.
Yeah, great. What, excuse me, what Noemi and Janet said definitely resonate with me. And part of it for me was entering Round Skies work before I joined the program and really getting this experience of an organization that really values structure, whereas some other organizations that I have been a part of valued really organic, go with the flow, which didn't work. So this organization that really valued structure and also building healthy, genuine relationships felt new for me. And noticing how different that felt in comparison to other places that I had worked and other teams that I'm a part of currently, I felt it was pretty necessary to work on that collaborative leadership piece for me. And also feeling pretty inadequate in handling challenges and other places in my organizing life, such as overload and not knowing who was doing what. That often happens in the collective organizations that I'm a part of. And then also fear around stepping on people's toes. So like overload and fear of taking over someone's work. So I know that this has helped me understand and start to shift things. And it definitely always need to keep honing in on what is working, what's not working. And I think those are some of the main things. And I've found that it's been helpful for me in terms of shifting the way of what leads to how I notice things that lead to burnout and how that could be changed versus, oh, well, that was just burnout. They need self-care, which isn't really the right answer, but was often a narrative in the places that I've been working in. So that's what brought me there. Short.
Nice. Thank you, Rebecca. Really appreciate hearing from all of you.